I can recall my first mission I flew. They came in and they really hit the bombers on that one. And I can remember Major Campbell saying, "Uh-oh, I think we're in for a dogfight today because these guys are not breaking off."
During the 1930s, segregation and racial inequality were rampant throughout the United States. The onslaught of the Great Depression only made matters worse, and African Americans were often among the first to lose their jobs, creating an even greater rift in the cultural divide. But in spite of all of this, young Harold Brown of Minnesota kept his ambitions set high.
Well, I was nothing but a snotty-nosed kid born and raised in Minneapolis. My mother always had hopes that I would be a pianist, and that continued until I was in the 6th grade. I woke up one day and decided I was going to become a military fighter pilot. I don't know how it happened, but it was just something that happened. And I recall going in and telling my mother that I don't want to practice anymore. I'm going to become a pilot. And she looked at me as if I had lost my mind. You have to keep in mind that they were not training blacks for pilots. Back in those days, segregation was not only by law, but by tradition. And that's the way it was practiced.
As far back as World War I, African Americans had attempted to become military pilots, but had only faced rejection. But in the late 1930s, with the world's climate once again shifting towards war, things began to change.
And finally, in March of 1941, President Roosevelt said, "That's it. We're going to train one squadron made up of 35 pilots and 27 aircraft." And that was the beginning.
Named for the university at which they trained, the Tuskegee Airmen became the first African-American squadron in U.S. military history. The gates were now open for Harold to achieve his dream of becoming a pilot.
I had only one thing in mind. I wanted to fly, and nothing else mattered. So in June of 1942, 17 years old, graduated from high school, went down, sat for the exams, passed them, and was invited, down to join. And we were the 332nd Fighter Group in the 15th Air Force. We had the Red Tails. They only trained 992 pilots. Out of the 992 pilots, only 355 of us went overseas to fight the war.
In the summer of 1944, Harold was sent to Europe to join the rest of the 332nd Fighter Group, attached to the 15th Air Force. The 15th was in need of fresh pilots and aircraft after losing hundreds of planes in their bombing campaigns across Europe.
And at that time, they had lost 114 bomber crews out of the 15th, 10 men each. That's a lot of airplane and a lot of men. They felt the primary reason why they lost that many is that the other fighter groups were running off looking for victories, leaving a gap in the protection of the bomber. The Germans were coming in and knocking them down. And I can remember when I finally got overseas, we met Colonel Davis. He says, "I only want one promise out of you, that you will stick with those bombers. You get them up there, you take them to target, get them back home safely so they can fly another day." I can recall my first mission I flew, saw no enemy aircraft, nothing. On a number of my missions, I never would even see an enemy aircraft. Others, I saw a lot of them. On my 12th mission, we were escorting bombers deep up into Germany, and we knew they were up there. This time, I don't know, there was 8 or 12 of them. and they came in and they really hit the bombers on that one. And I can remember Major Campbell saying, "Uh-oh, I think we're in for a dogfight today because these guys are not breaking off." They came in, they hit them, we dove down on them, and when you pick up a guy, if you time it right, you can get them in your sight for no more than 1 or 2 or just 3 seconds. But then they're so fast, here they go, and they're pulling away from you. They must have had a dummy in this one because we came in on him like so, and instead of flying straight ahead, he rolls over, which means that he is staying in my gun sight a little while longer. And he's given me the opportunity to get in not 1 burst, but 2 bursts, but several bursts. Well, fine with me if you want to play that game. And we were shooting at this guy all the way down, bloop, 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 bloop. He pulls out over the treetops, and he led us right into a flak trap. We come over it, and everything they were throwing up at it. I said, "Oh, he suckered us in, you know." I apparently was hitting my wing tanks or something because I have fuel exhaustion, 25,000 feet, no engine. And this thing is dropping like a rock. So we get down to 10,000. I spot an old abandoned fighter strip. Dead stick, nothing, and you're trying to jockey around, but you gotta slow the airplane up slow enough so you can land the damn thing. Long story short, I just forced it on the ground, hit the ditch, goes up, breaks in half right behind the cockpit. So I jump out of it, and rough landing, but it's any landing you walk away from is a good landing.
Harold was fortunate to walk away from his first real encounter with enemy aircraft. But when he flew his 30th mission several weeks later, he would be faced with a very different outcome. In March of 1945, Harold and the 99th Fighter Squadron were given a mission to strafe and destroy German supply trains near the Austrian border. When the fighter planes arrived at their destination, they were delighted to find a great concentration of enemy train cars.
The last thing they expected were fighters, and there were locomotives all over the place, and the guys were screaming, "Look what we got." And there was just this chatter guys, "Boy, I got this one. Did you see? I got this one. Hey, I just blew up." Oh, just chatter, chatter, chatter. Damn it, they missed one. Look at that great, big, beautiful one they missed. Let's go get them. So I went in on them, and I had that locomotive lit up like a Christmas tree. And just as I pull up to go over it, that's when it explodes. This big explosion, I got caught in it. Then all of a sudden, the oil pressure started acting up. The oil temperature starts going up high, and the engine quits. I rolled it over, kicked the nose up, jettison the canopy, and it throws you out. So I land on the ground in a short while. Here's a couple of guys up on skis, and they jump off the skis, and they put a rifle on me. So I immediately, threw up my hands.
Harold had landed somewhere in Germany and was now in the custody of 2 German constables. They marched him directly to a nearby village, which had suffered collateral damage due to the 99th strafing mission. As Harold entered the town, he was quickly met by an angry mob.
Here I come along as one of the pilots. They want a piece of me. Matter of fact, they'd even selected the perfect tree for it. What am I going to do? I can't run, I can't hide, I can't do anything. And I just knew I was going to die. Next thing I knew, I felt a hand on my shoulder. One of the constables stepped in front of me and put a round in his rifle and kept him from killing me.
Over the next several weeks, Harold would be transferred from one POW camp to another, enduring interrogation and near starvation. But as the Allies continued to close in on Germany, Harold knew all he had to do was hold on a little while longer.
The Allies were coming from the west, and they were moving eastward. The Russians were in the east, and the lines are slowly collapsing. And they keep evacuating the prisoners inland. And we knew that, Patton wasn't that far away. And there were even times in the evening you could hear the tanks way off in the distance. You knew precisely what was going on. And that morning, we could hear the tanks, just beyond the big barbed wire fence. And they knocked down part of the fence, and they come through these huge, big tanks. And Patton was behind about the second or third tank. And he was talking about, boy, we got them on the run. He says that when I get into Berlin, I'm going to catch that dash. He had the filthiest mouth in the world. I'm going to catch him, and when I catch him, I'm going to do dash. And every time, all 1,000 guys was, yay, Patton. And he said, well, I'm on my way to Berlin. I'll be there in another few days. And we were, yay, Patton. Of course, they stopped him, and they never allowed him to go into Berlin.
The glory of taking Berlin would be passed from Patton to the Russians, but the American forces and all of Europe breathed a sigh of relief. The war against Germany was finally over, and Harold was returning to the United States. The Tuskegee Airmen emerged from the war as a highly revered fighter group, possessing some of the best pilots in the U.S. Air Forces with an outstanding bomber protection record. The exceptional defense they provided for their bombers earned them the nickname the Red-Tailed Angels.
There was any number of times we're bringing the airplanes back. We hear some bomber up there that was part of our group started hollering and screaming, I just lost my second engine. I got 2 engines out, fighter cover, I need fighter cover. And the old lead aircraft, check your fuel levels. Who's got some fuel? Okay, you 4 guys, go back and find that bomber. They go back up, find them, and bring them home. And we did that regularly. And they said, who are these guys flying these damn red tails? He said, man, these guys are with us all the way. Who are these guys? And someone came up with the idea of the Red-Tailed Angels.
In 1948, the Tuskegee Airmen's performance in World War II played a pivotal role in President Truman's decision to fully integrate the United States Armed Forces. Americans of all races and cultural backgrounds were finally serving side by side. To this day, the Red Tails continue to be a shining example of the importance of perseverance and equality.
At the time, it just didn't occur to me the history that we were making. That was the last thing on my mind. As I became older, I started then realizing the significance. And if it had not been that we had performed at such a high level, I don't know if Truman ever would have integrated. But we did, and so he did it. So when I reflect back on it, there was always obstacles. But again, if the Tuskegee Airmen could overcome all their obstacles, hey, you can do it too.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh from Memoirs of World War II, and I just want to say thank you so much for watching this episode. Our goal is to capture as many World War II veteran stories as we can from all over the world, but we can't do it alone. If you'd like to help us in this mission, consider supporting us through Patreon, and check out our website in the links below for more information. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, and click the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. We want to say thank you for your support, and thanks for watching.